Bitcoin is a commodity. Bitcoin is actually the commodity. I studied commodities in my early professional years. Every other commodity can be created with technology, with capital, with know-how. Every other commodity is going to actually explode in supply with technology and with price. That makes them all garbage investments for a long-term investor. They're in fact the worst possible investments as a long-term store of value. The king of them, gold, still underperforms the S&P index by a factor of 2 or more. So there's only one commodity in the history of the human race that wasn't a garbage investment. The one commodity is Bitcoin.
Michael Saylor argues that while traditional commodities like oil, gas, gold, and soybeans lose value due to supply increases, Bitcoin stands as the only future-proof commodity. Its supply is fixed and cannot be manipulated, making it the ideal asset to resist inflation and preserve wealth in the long term. Make sure to watch the rest of this video to hear more insights from Michael Saylor. Also, if you enjoy listening to crypto-related content, please show your support by liking and subscribing to this channel by following the link in my bio, and get access to my free daily crypto updates and expert predictions direct to your inbox. Each newsletter contains on-chain data, forecasts and expert predictions. All of this is available free of charge. It only takes a moment to sign up and you can always change your mind later. Now back over to Michael Saylor.
Digital commodities were created by the brilliance of human beings in a fluke. You needed to have a brilliant engineer, Satoshi, give away this gift to the world. The world needed to embrace the gift. The protocol needed not to be defective. And after many, many years of not knowing whether it was something or nothing, it spontaneously monetized and came to life. It really is a miracle of the 21st century. Why is a digital commodity important? Well, you can vibrate a digital commodity 60 times a second on a computer. You can move a digital commodity at the speed of light. The AIs can decompose and recompose a digital commodity millions of times an hour, simultaneously moving it and distributing it all around the world at the speed of a computer. Can't do that with palladium. Can't do that with gold. There's no way Apple Computer's ever going to ship an upgrade that has multi-factor authentication on a physical commodity. It needs to be a digital commodity, and that's what makes Bitcoin special. Not only is it a digital commodity, it is the digital commodity. The most profound thing that happened is 2 weeks ago, the president signed into law via the executive order, Strategic Bitcoin Reserve. David Sachs said, Bitcoin is an asset without an issuer, spawned by an immaculate conception. It is decentralized. We recognize it as a store of value. It is our digital gold. You have the most powerful person in the world and members of the cabinet that are saying that it's the policy of the United States government that Bitcoin is the one digital commodity in the world. That's going to ripple. And, you know, I can create a digital commodity theoretically and ask that without an issue, and I can give it a protocol that inflates it 5% every year. I could create any kind of inflationary monetary protocol. For example, corn and oil are commodities. No one doubts the fact they're commodities, but they're not scarcity. They're not half. Bitcoin wasn't just a brilliant creation of a digital commodity. Bitcoin was brilliant because Satoshi capped the supply at 21 million. If I give you an inflation rate of 2% and the supply of gold, the economic half-life of your wealth is 36 years. When I give you an inflation rate of 0% in your digital gold, the half-life of your economic wealth is infinite. It is forever. The difference between 2% inflation and 0% inflation is you're dead in 36 years with 2% inflation, and you live forever with 0% inflation. Next time someone tells you that it's just a little bit of inflation and the 2% doesn't matter, I just want you to think about that. The half-life of 36 years versus the half-life of 1 billion years. And of course, with that observation, it stands to reason the next truth is Bitcoin truly is digital gold. Gold, what does it represent? Gold represents money and wealth in the human race for 10,000 years. It represents prosperity. It represents the king commodity. It represents the most ethical, virtuous, technically sound money. And the vast majority of the people in the world, they're not invested in digital assets. They're not invested in Bitcoin. They don't even know what we're doing here. You're probably, if you lined up 100 people on the street, to say that you're the top 1% is probably an understatement. You're at least ahead of 99%. So for the mainstream, when you say digital gold, what that tells them is that instead of giving away a gold medal at the Olympics, maybe it's time for a Bitcoin medal at the Olympics. What it means is that the golden age will give way to the Bitcoin age. What it means is a city with streets paved in gold maybe should be paved in Bitcoin. What it means is that if something is gold-plated, and that's how you monetize anything, and gold-plated lighter or gold-plated pen, maybe it should be Bitcoin-plated, right? This is a very profound thing, right? The truth, Bitcoin is digital gold. We dismiss it as being kind of a boomery idea, but the boomery idea means Bitcoin's worth more than 20 trillion because that's what the gold is worth. But the truth is everything digital in our modern era is worth 10x the analog version. If Bitcoin is nothing more than digital gold, Bitcoin is worth $200 trillion. If it's nothing more than digital gold. But of course it is more than digital gold. Because truth number 11, Bitcoin is digital money. JP Morgan said gold is money, everything else is credit. Money, a bearer instrument. I give it to you, I don't have it, you have the money. Well, Bitcoin is money. What is everything else circulating in the internet? Credit. What does that mean? It means that I send you something, I send you a fee over credit card network. 45 days from now, maybe it will be transferred to your account after the credit card company takes 2%, right? In a world of digital credit, that means that it takes 4 years for the money to move 40 times, and at the end of the 4 years, all the money's gone. In a world of digital money, it means you can move the money once a second. Maybe you can move the money 60 times a second. You move the money 60 times a second for a 20th of a penny, you still have the money. The computers are not going to think one click, one settlement every 30 days. They're not going to agree to pay 200 basis points per vibration of the money, right? Digital money is profound. It's so profound that everybody in the business of managing money doesn't even understand what this means. When they understand what this means, then the industry is going to 100x. Bitcoin is going to go to the moon. Well, if Bitcoin is digital money, what else is it? Well, truth number 12. Bitcoin is perfect money. Okay, what is perfect money? If you read the writings of the Austrian economists, von Mises and Hayek, they write about money, but they couldn't conceive of perfect money. Voltaire, Aristotle, Plato, they couldn't conceive of perfect money. Why? They didn't have the technology. It's kind of like asking Aristotle, tell me about clean water. How do you understand clean water if you don't have a microscope and you don't understand that there are pathogens in the water? Nobody understood perfect money until Satoshi gave it to us, and that's because it was impossible to create perfect money before modern semiconductors, modern internet, modern cryptography. So they were struggling, and you can see Hayek and von Mises, they struggle with this notion. In the Constitution, the founding fathers, who were pretty intelligent, said, the only legal money in this country is going to be gold and silver coin. They kind of knew this idea, a commodity in your hand, a self-custody commodity bearer instrument felt like good money. What they designated as perfect money in the Constitution, and we have drifted, a little bit away from that, they designated what they saw were the hardest commodities and the most liquid fungible commodities that could be used as a monetary token. And they were never perfect because you can't practically do every transaction by swapping gold and silver coins. And because gold and silver coins aren't hard capped They have inflation. So they had defective money that was slowly decaying, that was not quite useful, but it was just, they used to say it's the worst possible way to do it, except for every other way, right? And so the significance of this truth, this basically marks the point where economics goes from being a superstition and an art form to being a scientifically based engineering discipline. You can't engineer an economic system or a monetary system before you have perfect money. It's just like trying to do good math, but 2 + 2 = 5 on Tuesday, and it equals 4 on Wednesday. And if you don't have stable numbers, you can't do math. And if you don't have stable money, you can't do economics. If you can't drink water that's not going to kill you, life is pretty ugly, right? This is profound truth. Again, misunderstood. No economist trained in the past 100 years. They never took a course on perfect money. They never imagined it. But you can't really blame them. It's like if you went back to Voltaire and you say, okay, that's the smartest guy in the 18th century in France. And, he wrote shelves of books. But poke him and say, describe, radioactivity to me. And how are we going to build mobile phones and satellite communications? And he would have thought, what are you talking about? Right? It's like the most brilliant person without the instrument, the technology, can't conceive of the rational thing. And that takes us to truth 13. Bitcoin is legitimate. A short phrase, a powerful phrase. It wasn't legitimate 4 months ago. A year ago, if you try to remember where you were and what you were thinking in March of 2020, when the entire crypto industry was under massive onslaught, everybody's getting sued, right? And the most likely future was everything gets ground into the dirt. We have completely come 180 degrees. This is the most powerful person in the world sitting in at the most sacred place, the Oval Office, flanked by 2 cabinet members, telling you Bitcoin is digital gold, a store of value, a commodity. Not just a commodity. If the U.S. seized 10,000 securities, all your artwork, all your houses, your planes, your trains, your automobiles, every currency, everything of value, your diamonds, your gold brooches, your silver, they'd sell it. Right? The only thing the United States does not sell is its national parks, its nuclear stockpiles, and its Bitcoin. Now, that's a shockwave that will be heard around the world. That just happened, literally days ago. It's going to take a while for that to ripple through the entire federal government. Then it will ripple through the state governments. Then it will ripple through the banking system, the insurance system, the credit rating agencies. Then it will ripple to all the banks in Mexico and El Salvador and Argentina and then Europe. It's rippling through the banks in Hong Kong and China and Japan and Abu Dhabi and Europe. How long will it take? Well, how long does it take for a profound good idea to move its way through layers and layers of bureaucracy? It'll take a while, but the innovators will actually grab this, and those that need the money, that want the money, will reach for and embrace the money, and they will be enriched by it, and there will be others that will resist it. But that entire shockwave, right, that explosion in legitimacy, that happened just a few weeks ago, happened on a Thursday night in the White House. And that's profound. We are legitimate. And as I've said before, if Bitcoin's not going to 0, it's going to 1 million.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to access my free daily crypto updates and expert predictions direct to your inbox.